Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today's topic, The Catcher in the Rye, and how this was not standard in my school days is beyond me. I feel like this is the perfect book to read when you're in like 8th grade. I feel like, as crazy as this sounds, I think this protagonist is literally me in like 7th or 8th grade. He's kind of whiny, he thinks he knows everything, and he thinks everyone's kind of out to get him, and it's like, dude, maybe you should just, like, I don't know, not do that, and maybe understand that people are people too. Also, kill John Lennon. I posted about this on my Snapchat not too long ago, and I was getting comments about killing John Lennon, and then I completely forgot South Park made fun of this book about how it's just a kid who's whining a bunch because they were trying to get to the naughty bits, and yeah, there's not really any naughty bits. I view this book more as a story about maturing and growing up, because it almost seems like our protagonist doesn't want to grow up and he's constantly running from it. I mean, at the very end, spoilers, he's conflicted on whether to stay and tell his family that he got expelled from school again and he's going to have to find another school, or he just leaves for good. He just finds a dead-end job and he just goes from there and doesn't face the consequences of his actions. The last chapter, which is only like a page and a half, really solidifies that he decides to stay and accept the consequences of his actions. And I really like it because all these other chapters have been so long and drawn out, and you get to understand like his vocabulary, because it's written as though he's actually writing it in a journal, which is cool. I didn't turn off I just kept laying there thinking about Jane and all. Oh yeah, okay, so like at the end of this he goes, "That's the truth." It's like, well, you don't have to say that if you're journaling it, but it's how he would speak, which is, it's a cool touch. I like it. I don't think I'll ever really reread this. It might be like 5 years before I decide to reread it. Very easy read too. Like, I didn't have an audiobook, and I think it took me like 4 hours to read in total. Not a hard read. I would recommend, if I could go to the school board and tell them, hey, get 7th graders or 8th graders to read this, I would. I get it, there's swear words in it. La-di-da. I guess there is a mature theme, with our protagonist. He ends up hiring a hooker at one point, which is probably the most extreme thing, but nothing happens. He's like, yeah, I want to have sex, and then he has this moment, this realization where he's like, I don't actually want this. I don't know what I want. And it's really surreal to like watch him have this realization, because I'm sure we've all had something in our lives where we're like, I really want this thing. I want this game. I want this book. I want this job. I want this whatever. And then we get it and we're like, I didn't really want this. This isn't what I wanted. And I think that's a cool moment that, while the average 7th grader could not relate to hiring a hooker, I'm sure they could relate in some way to getting something they thought they wanted and it being something they actually didn't care about in the first place, but they thought it would bring them happiness. And I think that's a good theme throughout this book. But the main theme is growing up and, accepting responsibility and being there for those that you care about, because the whole reason he stays is because of his sister, which I thought was amazing. Yeah, I'd give this book, honestly, the previous video, it was the Iliad, and it's probably going to be the Iliad if I do this in order. I think I'm going to rate it higher than the Iliad. I would give this book like an 8 out of 10. I think it was just because it was so easy to read, and it was such a simple and clear message that, my little noodle could pick it up very easily. Yeah, I would recommend reading this at least once. I do find it disturbing, though, that I was reading this at work. I do find it a little disturbing that two, like, 40-year-old, 50-year-old women were like, oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite books. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think this should be, if you're that age, I don't think this should be your favorite. I did get warned by the same guy who was talking with me about Moby Dick. He did warn me about this book. He goes, hey, you might have aged out a little too much for this book. Because he said this book is perfect when you're like 13, because the protagonist doesn't come off as, oh, Holden, that was his name. Dude, I kept thinking of Judge Holden from Blood Meridian, and I was like, his name is not Judge Holden. Holden Caulfield. Anyways, he warned me. He said, yeah, he's probably going to come off as very whiny and immature at the age I'm at now. And that's true. South Park put it best. It's just a kid that's been bitching the last 150 pages. Where's the naughty stuff? And nothing naughty happens, right? So yeah, I don't really know how I feel about the fact that some middle-aged women are like, "Oh, it's my favorite book." I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments. I don't know. But yeah, I'll give it like an 8 out of 10. I think it's worth the read, especially with how short it is. I mean, it's a little under 300 pages, but I mean, guys, look at this. Look at this. Like, it's not tiny text, and yeah, I don't think it's that bad. But yeah, have a good day, guys. See ya.